You could say it's out of control, you could say it's unprecedented, and you would be right.
Palantir's explosive growth story has made it a favorite with retail investors.
It does have leading technology when it comes to military use.
But MarketBeat's Gabriel Ossorio Mazilli is eyeing another AI defense player that has the makings of another meteoric climb.
Quarter over quarter, you saw a 30% increase in order backlog, so quadruple rise in the R&D budget. Management's outlook might even turn to be on the conservative side this time.
Could this be the next major small cap AI play with real growth potential ahead? Let's dive in. Gabriel, so great to have you back on the show today, talking about one of the hottest topics right now, and that's defense stocks. But right now we're talking about the AI implementation in defense. There's some big names. The biggest one everyone knows, and that's Palantir. Their growth story has been incredible. Let's talk about how much more this company could grow and how it got to be as big as it is today.
Right, so Palantir is, of course, one of those popular names that grabbed the whole retail investment community by the horns, right? All over last year, all over the past 2 years even. And if you saw the meme, right, the throwing the intelligent investor copy in the trash, Palantir is a stock that started that massive trend and made that meme go viral because you couldn't really justify 100 times, 200 times, even 300 times per sales multiples or earnings multiples. That it's an unprecedented level, right, for any company in history. But it turns out, as you mentioned, the application of AI in military use sort of justified the growth and the implications for the future of the company, getting more and more contracts with the U.S. Defense Department, and of course the tail risk that other geopolitical events might come up down the line, as they have happened in the past week and are still ongoing. So all those factors mix in for a perfect cocktail of upside for a stock like Palantir.
It's already had just an incredible growth story, as you said, the last year, up over 400%, and has made a lot of retail investors a good chunk of change in the last year. And I think that's where everyone is looking for what's the next Palantir. And we're going to get into that next name in just a minute. But before we dive into the next name, Gabriel, let's just look at Palantir's chart a little bit more. I think once it got to that new record high of over 140, people were saying and just waiting for it to drop off significantly after jumping to that level. But so far, it seems to be holding fairly steady.
Right, and that's one of the instances of people going against the market and betting against the common knowledge, right? So there's always a reason why stocks tend to trade at these stratospheric valuations, right? And if you know something that the market doesn't, then you might as well bet against it. But in this case, I don't think anybody knows anything that the market doesn't when it comes to Palantir. So if you are waiting for a pullback, you might not get it. And even if you do get it, who's to say that pullback is not going to turn into a downtrend or a full bear market for Palantir? There's really no telling. I think that FOMO is driving those desires to buy the dip. As you know, most investors miss the multi-year run that Palantir has had. I think that at this point, it would be better to start looking at potential companies that could have a similar run in the military artificial intelligence use rather than chasing the Palantir run, right? Because as I said, if you do get a dip, who's to say that's not going to turn into a whole downtrend down the line?
Before we get into that next name that you're hinting towards right now, I want to talk a little bit devil's advocate here for the Palantir supporters out there who say the reason that Palantir is valued so heavily right now is because this company is one of a kind, and there is so much demand and so many uses for this company and the platform that it offers. Is there something to be said that the valuation is a little out of control right now simply because the growth potential for this company is so huge?
Well, you could say it's out of control. You could say it's unprecedented, and you would be right. But the thing behind it is, right now, Palantir not only has great technology, but it also has tremendous marketing, right? You see the CEO, he's an eccentric personality, so to speak. He's been everywhere in social media. Palantir is the subject of memes in the Twitter sphere, in Reddit, even in mainstream media like Bloomberg and CNBC and channels like that. So I think that it's not only the great technology, but the great marketing PR behind it that's keeping Palantir at these great valuations. Now, that comes back to the fundamentals of, can the company really upkeep that insanely high valuation? The answer is nobody knows, because the truth is it does have leading technology when it comes to military use that could eventually move past the military and into civilian applications, right? So that whole AI space, the whole machine learning applications that have been proven successful in the military, we don't know. We have no idea what it could turn into if it goes to the private side and to the civil side. So maybe Palantir can justify it in the future, maybe it won't. But as I said before, if you're trying to chase a future that is not written out yet, you might become a bag holder, as they call them, holding the stock through your pension and not really selling because the price didn't get any higher. So instead of falling into that trap, I would say take Palantir as a successful case study, figure out the factors that helped it get to that high valuation in the first place and deliver such a high rate of return. And if you can pin those out and you can put them on a checklist and find a stock that crosses those same factors, then you might as well not have missed the boat on Palantir, cutting down your downside as well.
And that's actually the topic of our brand new premium report just out this week. It's a fresh list of 5 small cap stocks that all have explosive upside potential ahead. Make sure to check out this free list that's just for our YouTube viewers by scanning the QR code or clicking the link in the description of this video now. All right, Gabriel, let's get to your next stock that has some of the makings of Palantir's growth story.
Right, that would be Big Bear, that AI stock. And I think that when you look at the technologies, right, the Palantir driven technology and the Big Bear AI driven technology are pretty much the same, except that Big Bear is more focused on the unmanned mission applications, predictive analytics, predictive ML, which is machine learning models for missiles, for drones, for like I said, any unmanned vehicle or mission that involves modern warfare, which is unfortunately what we're seeing today. So I think that when you look at those aspects, the only thing that's missing for Big Bear AI is a big defense contract and its sort of marketing, PR campaigns and everything else that Palantir put in place to get it on the top of the queue in the first place.
Now, Big Bear AI is a name that a lot of our viewers have been asking about for months now, and it really saw a huge run up earlier this year, just a couple of months ago, and now it's back down to those smaller levels even. So let's talk about this chart a little bit. What's behind some of the ups and downs in this company?
Okay, so when you look at Big Bear AI's chart, it was a really popular stock back in the beginning of 2025, where it hit an all-time high, and it was a stratospheric rise, a stratospheric rally, and everybody was kind of excited about it. But then it kind of waned off, right? It went of a downturn that decreased more than half of that 52-week high that was achieved. So now the question is the business over? Is the growth path over for Big Bear, or is there something that might revive the stock? And as it turns out, I think there are a few factors that might come into play for the next quarter and maybe even the next following years for Big Bear, as long as they do things the right way, right? And like I said in the beginning, you could take Palantir as a successful case study, look at Palantir's history and see what they did right, see what they did so that the 52-week highs and the new higher prices stuck to it and they never let it go, right? So in the case of Big Bear, I think we might retest those highs and maybe even claim a new high, but there are some things that need to happen in the first place, right?
And those things are definitely contracts. I think that's what every investor wants to see is, are they getting the sales, the deals? I think that a lot of people are excited about Big Bear AI because of that forward-looking outlook for this company, that there's a lot of growth coming down the line for Big Bear AI. What is that growth, and is it guaranteed yet, or is this just an optimistic outlook on the future of this company?
Well, when you talk about outlooks, I would look at the latest quarterly financials, right? And the press release signals that the CEO is signaling towards double-digit percentage growth in the revenue. And, you know, this might be optimism, this might be the wave of excitement that the stock saw back then in the first quarter. But I think that when you look at the financials and you dig a bit deeper, you might be able to justify those outlooks, right? And there's two main components to this that I want everyone to look at when considering Big Bear. First is the near triple, quadruple rise in the R&D budget. So for research and development, it's been pretty stagnant over the past quarters, except for the recent one. So there must be a reason why Big Bear is looking to invest a lot more into developing their products and researching new solutions. That doesn't come without expected demand, expected contracts to come from the government or any other entity in military use. So that's one factor I would suggest to keep in mind if you're looking to buy Big Bear. The other one is the order backlogs, right? So they saw a 30% increase quarter over quarter. This is not an annual figure. Quarter over quarter, you saw a 30% increase in order backlog. So that means there are new orders coming in for Big Bear, and those orders might come in the way of new contracts. So if that happens, management's outlook might even turn to be on the conservative side this time, and those optimistic views might turn out to be a reality, so to speak. And you might not see it in the chart yet, because since February, March of 2025, the stock has done nothing. It's been in a tight channel, but there is one subtle sign that tells you there might be something big on the horizon, and that's volume.
Yeah, there's a lot of volume on this stock right now. And we've seen the last 5 days a pretty significant increase in the stock price as well.
Yes, we are up a bit under double-digit percentage points. But as you mentioned, there has been a lot of volume happening in this stock in the recent past, right? So when you look at the average volume for the quarter, we are now at double, if not triple, the average volume. That unusual trading volume happening in Big Bear stock might signal accumulation. So when you think about it, why would the big players, their so-called smart money, be looking to accumulate this stock when it has done nothing for the past quarter or two, right? And the reason might be in that R&D budget increase, the 30% increase in backlogs, and unfortunately as it may be, the geopolitical conflicts that are happening right now. So I think that Palantir's success might start to spill over into Big Bear AI due to the similarity in technology and because it is the smaller player. So I think that the priority for Big Bear is getting to market, is getting to those contracts. So their pricing power is not there. While for Palantir, the opposite might be the case. They have all the pricing power. They have all the benefits when it comes to commanding the price tag for their services. And when you look at the consumer or the customer's shoes, I think that Big Bear might be the better option moving forward, as well as spreading out the risk of putting all your eggs in one basket.
It would be pretty impressive to see Big Bear climb as high as Palantir has and as the time frame that this company has grown to. I think one important point to talk about with the potential growth of Big Bear versus Palantir is simply valuation. Big Bear is still a small enough company that the idea of this company doubling or tripling in value isn't too far off, whereas Palantir's value has already grown so much in such a short amount of time that I don't know that Palantir investors are going to see the doubling or tripling of that company anytime soon.
That's right. And this is something that, venture capitalists or smaller investors are very familiar with. Big Bear trades just under $2 billion in market cap, while Palantir is in the hundreds of billions. So as you said, it's much easier for Big Bear to double and even triple its market cap. For Palantir to do the same, it's going to be a lot harder. So I always give this analogy of the oil tanker in the middle of the ocean, trying to fight the waves and turn slowly but surely, right? That would be a Palantir. For Big Bear, I would think of it as a speedboat in the middle of a bay. There are no waves, there's no weather risk to it, and it can turn a lot quicker. And that is the benefit of finding these small companies that have a lot of catalyst down the line. Not only for the asymmetrical return profile, but also because what's the downside here? This stock is already a small cap. It can't go into a micro cap with the amount of sales that it's looking to deliver, with the amount of order backlogs that it's already delivered. And even at the valuation level, looking away from the market cap, when you take a look at the balance sheet, right? Most of the value in this company is in intangible assets and goodwill, which tells you what? The value of this company is driven mainly by its technology, by its IP, its intellectual property, right? And when you spread out into the industry, most companies in this factor, right, of software, of AI, machine learning uses, they trade around 15 to 18 times their assets. For Big Bear, they traded just under 7 times. And I think that you have a pretty good scenario, so to speak, in valuation wise, because you could double, if not triple, the valuation. And then you have to factor in the popularity that it might get among retail investment communities when it breaks out. And then if you do have the confirmation of an accumulation from that volume that happened recently, you know, a couple of 13F holders, 5% holders from the institutional side, this thing could take off in a blink. So I don't think you might want to miss it. So again, if you miss the boat on Palantir, this could be your next best option rather than having to wait for a dip. And again, what would be your upside realistically in Palantir? You might get single digits, double digit percentage points. But like we said, for it to double in market cap, it's going to take a lot more than new contracts and more popularity in the retail investment community.
All some really interesting points on both of these companies, Gabriel. Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you think Big Bear AI could potentially have a similar story to Palantir someday? Or is Palantir a one-of-a-kind company that's meteoric rise is really unique to what Palantir offers? We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Thanks again for watching, everyone. And as always, happy investing.